Types of targeted individuals. Targeted by the government. Why? Brian 2. Former DoD employee, victim of gang stalking.
Brian, many of us targeted individuals have questioned as to why us. And I know about, you could have been a whistleblower and all the different reasons, but is it solely that that targeted individuals came or went against the control grid, or is there more to why they're doing this? Is it about the world domination, or why us? No one did anything to deserve a lifetime of torture like this. So what is really behind this?
Listen, targeted individuals are chosen because they fell into one of four categories. All targeted individuals fall into one of four categories. Okay, and the reason you're chosen or will be chosen for this technology, for the training, research, and development of this technology, is because you fell into one of those four categories. The first category are judicial targets, those who have committed a crime or those they suspect may have committed a crime. The second category is extrajudicial targets, and they may range from those who they can't prove that they committed a crime, but they suspect them of committing a crime, to all the way to the other end of the spectrum. All the way to the other end of the spectrum when you're dealing with activists and whistleblowers, etc. That's called extrajudicial targets. The third category of targeted individuals is targets of opportunity. Targets of opportunity, basically, that's a very vague area. It's a very large area, and just about everybody can fall in there. People, for example, who are randomly targeted for the purpose of science, for the purpose of human experimentation, research, and development, like we talked about. Those are targets of opportunity. And then the fourth category of all targeted individuals is called lucrative targets. And those are people who have access to, or who may have possessed sensitive information, or who may have access to sensitive positions. And so those four categories, judicial targets, extrajudicial targets, targets of opportunity, and lucrative targets, are the four categories which all targeted individuals fall into. And the reason that you're targeted, the reason it's happening, okay, it's because you fell into one of those categories.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarity.
Targeted by non-government groups. Who can become a targeted individual?
How does someone become a TI? The stalkers could select a target for any reason, real or imagined, superficial or substantial. Among other things, a bad breakup, messy divorce, fights between children, disagreements, tense collaborations, or friend-turned-enemy can suddenly turn anyone into a target. Gang stalkers get the inside scoop, but like any other gang, they are subjected to the leader's whims and restricted by the group's activities. So gang stalkers aren't even safe from becoming a TI. If they have a falling out with the group, they too can become a target.
Targeted by former federal employees. Dr. John Hall.
And in reality, at least from what we found with counter surveillance in San Antonio, it's usually a private investigative group made up of former federal employees.
Yeah, that's why you've been on the news. You guys have actually caught people before in the act.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, man, I tell you. And so you've got over 1 million private contractors operating domestically just in PSYOPs, they admit.
There's too many clearances out there. Too many clearances.
Targeted by hackers. Hackers can copy the mind control technology, use it against anyone, and pretend to be the government. Targeted individual, Terry Gillett.
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I am here tonight to talk to Terry Gillett, and actually adjusting the screen here a bit. Using a different computer. We're having some computer issues, and it looks like they're attacking my website right now. So this is just all in a day's work. Crazy stuff going on right now. So Terry is a computer security guy, and I'm afraid that due to some of the logistical issues I'm having here, I don't have his bio in front of me, but hopefully he can identify himself. We're going to be talking about mindware and mind war, access to mind control technologies, open source, etc. So, Terry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So what I'd like you to do is sort of give yourself a bit of an intro, a better intro than I just gave you, a little more detailed.
Okay. So what I do is I do blogging. Okay, I'm a blogger. I also do a lot of security research. My big thing is technology, open source, but also I like to do white hat security research, look at different things involving hackers. There are actually a very big variety of hackers out there: black hats, gray hats, script kiddies, and hacktivists. So if you think about it, I don't really like to cover topics with regards to government. I look at things outside of government. So to a lot of people's imagination, you're going to think that, well, mind war is a government thing, but like I say, you can go and Google search this stuff and do the research yourself. But the experiences that I've had over the last couple of years with this technology is actually third party. None of this stuff that I've dealt with is actually official. If some of this stuff is official technology, then it's obviously being hacked by black hats, okay? This is one thing that people just don't seem to understand, is that black hat hackers can in fact replicate this mind war technology that's built by the government, and then they can literally copy this stuff, every component, everything that comes along with it, to the absolute T and to the I. They can cross the T's and dot the I's and make it look almost identical, and basically make it look as if it's real, authentic technology. You got to remember, some of the technologies that I've talked about on my blog over the last couple of years is based on the fact that there are, in fact, hacker spaces all over North America, all over the Western world. What are the chances that some of these people have decided to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to build a device that's going to screw with someone's head? You know, that happens. And
Okay.
I've realized that, you know, the simplest thing you need, and I'm going to show you something here. It's called software-defined radio. You can buy these things off at Amazon for $30. Software-defined radio is essentially like a digital ham radio. It's like a digital amateur radio. It can do a lot of things. A lot of these things can be used for these particular mind war applications outside of, you know, a sovereign government. It can be used to screw with somebody. You can even use it for surveillance. Okay, I've read blogs from black hats who have basically made and replicated, you know, IMSI catching technologies used by police, and they built this stuff themselves with software-defined radios that cost, well, about $400 more than what this device costs. And then they use Raspberry Pi devices, which is basically something like this. So if you think about it, this is a Raspberry Pi. Obviously, everybody knows what a Raspberry Pi device is, but that just tells you how scary and how daunting that technology is, especially when it falls into the wrong hands. Most technology is neutral, right? It can be used for good or bad. But the fact of the matter is that people out there are ballsy enough to build technologies that screw with people's heads. It's that simple, right? I mean, obviously, the big thing is a lot of people have this thing against government. I get that exists. That's all over the Western world. You can't help that. But there are people out there who are willing to rebel against their governments and even use technologies that the governments use against them. At least that's the way they think of it. And they can use that technology to mess with the government, but they can also mess with the public too. That's another thing that these guys do, and they do it quite regularly. Okay, I can think of gangs that have replicated this technology and have decided to use it against their rivals, or terror groups for that matter, who use it against their rivals, or who use it against the government, and who use it against the general public. It's not uncommon. It's not some crackpot conspiracy. If you put this stuff together, you'll find that this stuff is actually very real. I mean, I found websites where people are basically openly talking about these things and building this stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of biohackers. Now, a biohacker is basically somebody who, instrumentally plays with their body, modifies their technologies to basically work with their bodies. And it basically means that these guys can just, like that there are hacker spaces. Okay, literally, there are hacker spaces all over the United States and all over Canada, where I am, and basically the technology can be easily acquirable. And I mean, like, think about it. You got all these kids who come out of university with computer sciences degrees and no work. What do you think they're going to do in their spare time? Think about that.
So you're interested in the targeting of individuals, it sounds like.
Actually, I'm not interested in that, because I am a TI myself, ma'am. Let's just put it like this. I've been a targeted individual. I know I have. I've been targeted by some kind of group that doesn't like what I do or what I say, and they know how to use this technology against me. I'm just starting to stumble across this myself and realizing that they have been using my own IoT devices against me and weaponizing them against me. Okay. I wouldn't think of it. I wouldn't think of targeting anybody. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to raise awareness that this stuff exists and people need to be more aware of it.
Well, I think that's great. I'm glad you are. And that's why I'm having you on my show. But I am wondering, like, in terms of this situation that we're talking about and the mind control aspects, have you gotten into the mind control aspects? And I noticed that you have like a picture of the I think it's BCI. Is that the BCCI?
Yeah. So basically that's one part of what I'm trying to raise a point about, is that somebody can build mind control devices themselves. I mean, Wired put an article out back in 2014 that talked about devices that were being built by people in hackerspace labs, or basically in meetups, social meetups, where they basically take devices made with Raspberry Pis or Arduino computing boards. So basically, if I were to basically unscrew this here, I would expose the innards of a Raspberry Pi device that could be used and utilized for mind control technology.
Do you know who's targeting you? Can you break free? Video made by Gangstalking. Attention awareness. Like, share and subscribe to keep in touch.